Alright, so let's get right into what is blockchain. Here's a nice little visual graphic. What is blockchain? Basically, it is a database or a ledger that maintains a continuously growing list of data records or transactions. So you can literally think of a cube or a block, in your mind. Of course, this is not really how it's represented inside the computer as data, but just think of it that way. And there is a link between the blocks. So you have a genesis block, the very first block, and then all the blocks that chain up to it, into infinity. So this little chart says, so it's like a spreadsheet, like Excel. Well, yeah, kinda. It's a pretty simplified way of thinking about it. But the concept behind is that it's shared publicly, and servers or nodes maintain the entries known as blocks, and every node sees the transaction data stored in the blocks when created. It is decentralized, so there's not one main server that is holding the master database, if you will. The master database is held by multiple nodes, or any computer that wants to run the blockchain, for Bitcoin, for example, the Bitcoin protocol. So there's no central authority requiring to approve the transactions or the set of rules. Security. The database is immutable and irreversible record. So once something finally does get put into a block, it's solidified there. Post to the ledger cannot be revised or tampered with, not even by the operators of the database. So it's a done deal. It's trusted because the distributed nature of the network requires computer servers to reach a consensus, and we'll go into this a little later, which allows for transactions to occur between unknown parties. The software is written so that conflicting or double transactions do not become written in the data set, and transactions occur automatically. So double spend is really what that's covering. And why that was so important with Bitcoin is because, again, going back to the 08 crisis, inside of those debt instruments, you had a lot of fraud. You had things that weren't even there, and even with how the Federal Reserve creates money, there is so much double spend within the system that it's basically out of control. So this blockchain and Bitcoin aim to solve that. So there's a short video, and I'll link again into the description. It's by Simply Explain, about a 6-minute video. It does a real good job of visually explaining the blockchain. But the key takeaways from that video after you watch it is, of course, because I can't show it here due to copyright stuff. The key takeaways, though, is you'll learn about hashing, and the hash protocol that is used is SHA-256, and that's really about the bit level depth. How many characters it goes into, and then what the hash actually looks like. So it's a combination of numbers and letters, the string of characters that you see here. What's included in a block: data or data types, the hash or link to the previous block that creates the chain. Proof of work system, we'll go into these two more in depth later on, but in simple terms, you just think of it as a puzzle or algebra. And in proof of work system, you basically, computers are solving mathematical puzzles or equations to show that some effort or work is being done, to release the Bitcoin, and also to put transactions into the block. Think of it as in algebra back in the day. If you just put an answer to the equation without working the left side and the right side, showing your work, the teacher's going to think you cheated, right? Same concept here. Peer-to-peer or distributed ledger system. Once again, not a central database, not like Microsoft or Google controlling the main set of databases that hold the ledger system. It's many nodes outside of a corporate structure entity. Node means any online computer with internet connection running the underlying protocol. And then the nodes look to each other to reach consensus. And we'll go into that more as well, but the video does a good job explaining that too. So how is this different compared to a centralized database? Well, a centralized database is a single point of attack for hackers. We've had many examples of this. Look at the, I think it's Equifax credit bureau rating that got hacked, and how many millions of records of people's information, was captured. You're depending on a third party, usually corporate structure, to properly secure your data. And you are not aware of how your data is being used or sold. I mean, look at Facebook and Congress, trials and how much information they're collecting on us, even from the, Alexa device in your home that listens to you. Supposedly it's only listening when you say the name Alexa, but I believe differently there. So the data transfer log is not viewable by you, so you don't even know what information they're collecting and selling about you. So you don't really have a right, at least right now, to view all the data captured on you. So that's pretty scary. The implications of blockchain on physical data networks, so the actual physical networks that push this data through, it's very interesting. Most people don't think about the bigger picture or the infrastructure that's going to make this happen. So larger data retention and transfers along with many smart devices require more bandwidth. Introduce 5G networks. I also include a link there of an overview of what 5G is. Blockchain and 5G, I believe, will usher in the all-knowing of all things smart, I like to say. So I give you some visual representations down there of just all the things in our lives that are quote-unquote smart, basically, or having an internet, connection to the internet. From your TV to your phone to your watch to your car, at least the higher-end cars, but even the lower-end cars are starting to come up with that as well. Camera devices, keypad locks, your energy meters, your refrigerator, your thermostat, all these things. And so implications of this would be, what do 5G towers and devices look like? Well, if you look around, you'll start seeing towers that look like this in your neighborhood. You'll have central main ones, and then eventually there are going to be little small devices, every telephone pole sitting right outside of your home. And they're even being hidden in cactuses out in the desert. So how to interface with blockchain? Well, if you've never bought one cryptocurrency in your life, then this is going to look really foreign to you. If you have a little experience, then you know what's going on here. The public key and your private key is basically represented as the hash again there. You'll see a QR code that has the information of your hash embedded into it so that you can scan it through a smartphone. So again, on the right there, QR image can contain hash information of your public key and private key. The private key is basically like your password to your bank account. If someone gets a hold of that, they ultimately get a hold of your ledger, and they can transfer out whatever tokens that you have, send it over to their address, and you would never know until you tried logging in one time. Software wallets like Exodus, which give you more of a nice GUI visual point-and-click interface, a way to interface with cryptos, it was created to interpret the balance by following the ledger or blockchain of all inputs and outputs, totaling your balance. So currently balances are displayed in fiat currency, whatever your default currency is that you're running the software. Mine, for example, would be dollars, and that is what it would show. Now, obviously, this is old because 19 bitcoins is not a total of 8,000. Wouldn't it be nice to have 19 bitcoins right now? So anyways, that is what a software wallet like Exodus does. Let's see here, and keep a history of your transactions, and then any exchanges that you might do into other cryptos. So how will humans ultimately interface with blockchain? Now, this is my own personal theory, but it makes a lot of sense. And the visual cue that I take is barcodes on all products, as well as QR codes, and now other technology. So we have biometrics from retina eye scans and your thumb, but then even down to an RFID chip the size of a grain of rice that can be implanted into your body through a needle. So because the public key hash and private key hash most people will never be able to rememorize because they're so long, that is going to be attached to a device like shown here, and that is how people will move with fluidity throughout the new purely digital system. Whether, again, if that's RFID in your hand, and then you'll have everything related to your public and private key. All your data will flow back to that, and that will be how the system will identify you. An interesting movie that explores this very topic, and I find it interesting that in the movie they actually call it Ether, E-T-H-E-R, which is exactly what Ethereum uses, is their name, Ether. But 2018 Netflix movie called Anon, and it explores a real interesting topic of being anonymous, basically. So, my feeling is, does Hollywood kind of loosely predict the future? I would say, yeah. There's a lot of movies that point to that, on things that have come true, where movies are made about it, from 10 years ago or so. So this is interesting because it actually goes over the Internet of Things, and you'll hear that the actual ticker of Internet of Things is IOTA within CoinMarketCap. Is crypto being brought into the mainstream yet? I would say it's trying. Ellen DeGeneres has a huge popular show. Everyone's, I'm sure, familiar with that. And Ashton Kutcher, with I believe it's the founder of Ripple, or representative Ripple, Ripple cryptocurrency, was on the show, and they did a $4 million transaction using Ripple to Ellen's Wildlife Fund. So they showed on their phone app with a push of a button, $4 million transferred to a fund, whether that was overseas, I believe it was, to a wildlife fund with a transfer fee of under $1. So they could push $4 million with a transfer fee of under $1. And that's showing the power of being able to move large amounts of money across this new blockchain system with speed, security, and efficiency without the expense, to move money like wire transfers have and stuff with the old system, and how banks just keep, chipping away with all the fees that they do to not only hold your money, move your money, track your money, all these things. So crypto as currency. So we'll stop here for a second, and I'll create the next video and see you shortly.